Great. I hit the wrong button.
Now,
Hey,
I'm
Alchemy,
trying
are
to
you
get.
ready? I accidentally shot us live, or should I read?
Yeah, I'm ready. I'm just trying to get my headphones. Like, I'm trying to run it through my headphones.
What's up, everyone?
Okay, hold on.
The title of this video is Live.
Oh well, I can do without the headphones today.
What's up, man? How you doing? How you been?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm a little under the weather at the moment.
Oh shit, what's going on?
Just a head cold, I think.
Oh, shit, it's that season, man.
It is, dude. It is. It's a little moving too fast, not slowing down enough. Slash, my child gets sick all the well, not all the time, but if he gets sick, then we all get it.
Yeah, see, I was just about to make some colloidal silver today, so that reminds me to put some in stock tomorrow.
There you go, man. You
Shit.
have any double blind tests on your silver and cold duration, cold lengths?
I wouldn't say double blind test, but I know this shit works. you know, it's 5-star reviews on Etsy. I think it's doing pretty well.
Yeah, no, I feel you. I need to make more lucid dreaming spagyrics, dude. I ran out
Oh, shit.
again, and but this time they won't bottle the product after you make it. Now I have to get it and label it and bottle it myself. So I'm like, damn, maybe I'll just order a big old vat, like 2 liters of it, and just pour it as I go.
Damn. The company you use for the labels?
The company that makes the
Oh,
spagyric,
oh,
I basically send them all the plant material,
okay, I
and
see.
then they have a big old lab, and they'll produce it and then label it and then design the label, jar it and label it and send it. But they're like, nah, we don't do that anymore. We just make
Damn.
it.
Hey, that's one hell of a service, but shit. Hey,
I
that's what
know,
I've been.
right?
That's what I've been doing though. The entire time, just make it, bottle it. Real stomping grounds type stuff. But
Yeah. So you're making your colloidals, huh?
yeah, I was looking in my cabinet not the other day, earlier today, kind of taking stock because I put everything on like a pre Black Friday sale, 20% off on the shop, teas, consultations, gold, silver, any, CMOS.
Oh, there you
Then,
go.
um, well, this is my personal, but, herbal pills that I make now, all type of stuff. So it's that time of the season, but man, I have learned so much since our last live, man.
Good, as one should,
Crazy,
right?
crazy.
What have you been dabbling with? Hello, you would know me.
I
What's
would,
Omega, Big Energy,
I wouldn't even
Janak, what's
say
cracking?
dab.
Arcturian.
It's
What
been more so uh mental magic.
what's your number one? What's your number one mental magic you've been poking around with?
I've been fucking around a lot with the law of assumption and Neville Goddard because this
You
shit is crazy.
mentioned that, dude. You mentioned that, and you
It's
almost
wild.
sent me down a rabbit hole. I just haven't had the time to pick it up yet.
Now, it's crazy because when you have a background, even the slightest background in the occult studies,
Yeah.
when you come into like you come into that space, it's different because now I understand why, like in the Kabbalion, they're talking about mentalism, the first principle, and if you don't get that down, you're like knocking at the temple doors in vain.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
you know
Yep.
okay, so this is why people should really learn, like I say, like the first few things people should learn is mental magic and fucking with the chakras properly. Those two things will take an initiate very, very far just off of that. Like, will change their life if they understand.
Hey, there was one thing, especially since it's cold season, everyone's starting to chill out a bit. Grounding. I wanted to pick your brain on grounding techniques, what you're doing. Um, Spiritual world gets real heady, you know what I mean, and it turns people sideways. a
Yeah.
lot of the time if you're not careful. So, yeah, what do you think about can you swing some of your knowledge, man? Can you swing some of
Yeah.
your Neville Goddard magic that you've been learning with something that people could really use in this fucking
So
world at this very moment? Ground some
I would
grounding
say
shit.
grounding. I kind of just stick to the basics. Um, with what I have, so I'm in my garden, but now like
All
I only
right.
have like brassicas out there now because it's 28 degrees and shit now. And they're the only things that can survive, -5 winters.
The
Uh,
brassicas will survive -5s?
yeah, they're
No
cold.
shit.
They're cold. They're cold winter plants like Brussels
Yeah,
sprout,
I knew they
cabbage.
were cold, but negative
Yeah,
five is super cold, dude.
yeah. That's about it's about where they would probably like be done around. I say -5, 0, 10 degrees around that, depending on the variety that you have. Is it disease resistant? That whole type of thing.
Yeah. And if
Grounding,
there's wind and sustained, and probably just at night is when it get, but during the day it probably warms up or something like that,
yeah,
huh?
exactly. But I would say grounding, anything that connects you back to yourself. So anything that gets you into a form of stillness or meditation. So that's probably like stillness, um, just checking in with your body. If you can't get outside, grounding would just be like when you just gotta touch yourself because like you're so up here, you gotta make sure you're here.
Let's take some turns on the why though, dude. Like I'm sure we've all heard 1,000 different techniques, but maybe if we break down the why behind it, it'll sink in a little deeper for people, like why it's important and what you can avoid and what the hell is really going on when you're grounding. That's like,
So
what are you accomplishing by it?
is taking everything, especially the things that we have up here. And if you look on the tree of life, Kether, that's the top. That's oneness. That is where, we are still. That's where we come into that energy, and then we start to manifesting things up here in the mental world. We want to bring it down into the material world to be felt.
Uh-huh.
So
Uh-huh.
when we do that, it brings us back to self. So grounding is really just bringing yourself back to self, like not just being here, but being present. So the why would be more or less. So more, it's more or less mental and physical because it's like checking in with yourself and your surroundings, making sure like, okay, it's like you ever gone a day like you're just kind of just like you said on the go, you're
Mm.
up here in your head, and then you stop for a minute and you're like, whoa, am I really here?
Yeah.
I have, it's like being really fucking high. It's like, okay, I gotta chill. Like, I
Yeah.
gotta chill. I gotta sit down, and
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
so the why is just to make sure that you are present with self and
That's
your environment.
that's beautiful, man. That's beautiful. I was actually I planted that seed in my head so I could have the conversation with you about it. And one of the things that came up was, am I here? And so I started thinking in terms of like thinking about my son who's going to be 4 in February. And
Mm,
and it's weird because I have gaps where it's like, oh, I remember some stuff so
yeah,
like viscerally, and other stuff is just like a blur. And so I'm thinking, like, there you go. That's what the grounding is. The president is like, am I here? Am I like
yeah.
having this conversation with my son, or am I in my head having 30 other conversations in 30 different places and talking to my son? Um,
Hey, that's inner conversation. So Neville Goddard talks about that shit a lot. So I've been down this rabbit hole a while just because like I wanted my life to change in a certain ways. Like I would, I got to a point where I was fed up with certain things and I wanted to bring certain things in like really bad. And you know how you go down a rabbit hole and then you find the one that you find the space that you were supposed to find.
uh-huh,
And it's just like, man, it's been crazy because a lot of the times, say like when you have a fight with someone, you're like cussing them out in your mind or whatever,
uh-huh.
and then you wonder why you get more of that back because it's basically thought transference.
What do you mean?
So thought transference is you could think it's almost like when you think about someone and then they hit you up.
Uh-huh.
They probably hit you up because you transferred that thought. Hey, I want to talk to so and so. Then boom, they hit you up.
So you're saying those aggravating thoughts are damn
Hmm.
near as powerful, or they're
Yeah,
working on some small level, even if it's
yeah.
a subconscious level with that other person.
It's going to transfer it to them because there's a cord there. So there's a quantum tunnel. There's a tunnel there, and it's going to, meet at a certain point. So and then they'll probably have a thought. So like when you think about someone, they could be probably thinking about you, type
Yeah,
of
you
thing.
know what? Neville Goddard, he's dead now, right?
Yeah, he's 50s.
Okay. Man, if he could only been alive today, I actually based a part of my book on this was they use an EKG there, all the new fancy science tech, and they're picking up information from people's electromagnetic field, which the spiritualists have been calling
Hmm.
auras for whatever.
Yeah,
And they're saying that they're testing and finding positive results, that information is being passed, anger is being passed, anxiety is being passed. And they're doing tests with horses and stuff like that. Well, horses are, for whatever reason, are more in tune with, like, so they can feel their rider. If their rider is scared or anxious, it shows in the horse. So you see, it's cool that you'll say words like we're tethered through oneness, and science goes, oh well, it's electromagnetic field and your brain's a receptor, Nick, and you know what I mean? It's vibrations, and it's like they're both fucking right.
yeah. It's all the same shit.
They're
Because
both fucking right.
every, if like if we all come from that same, if we're all just a piece of the divine experiencing itself, then we're all fucking connected.
And there has to be a physical.
Yeah.
Well, so here's how I see it: is um if you're existing in the physical 3D realm, no matter what sort of higher dimensional happening takes place, if it takes place on the third dimension, it has to have some sort of vehicle on the third dimension.
Yeah,
And I mean, so
exactly.
so it's your brain. So your pineal gland, they say, is the seat of the soul, for example. Well, the soul needs some physical seat, and if it wants to operate in the physical realm, like spirits that want to get in bodies because they can't do anything unless they're, in a 3D physical vessel.
Exactly. I mean, that's a different form of possession, and I figured out kind of how the Catholic faith capitalized on that.
Oh my God. Like
It's like,
Catholics are all about possession, dude. It's like
yeah, because there's this book, this very advanced book called Wombs and Alien Spirits.
that
They,
sounds like a heady ass book, dude. Speaking of grounding, wombs and aliens.
I'm telling you, Wombs and Alien Spirits is crazy. I just did a video kind of going off on what I've read so far and what a friend of mine and I, because while she was reading it months ago, we were getting channels on it 5 6 hours at a time. Like I started to channel in the science of the stars. So what they would do, and now this is the science of Star Trek or Star Trekking and tracking.
Uh-huh.
So basically, it's the Sudan cult of women. And this is where the jinn come into play. It's this, they speak Arabic. So this white lady goes into this old village people in the Sudan, West Africa. And she studies and she goes in and assimilates herself and finds out what's going on. And what she learns about spirit possession is it's very normal. Because if our ancestors live inside of us, if all, we have all these beings inside of us because we're a vehicle, and then us who we not who we believe that we are, but us and our true self, we're the ones driving the vehicle. There's always going to be some form of possession happening.
You, we're gonna. Can I sidetrack you?
Mhm.
But it's on ancestors, so it's not too much of a sidetrack. Um, you're talking about the ancestors possessing and being a sort of vehicle. In my head, it has to be. Well, how are you seeing the ancestors operating you? And here, from this angle, being, if we reincarnate or move on, go another dimension, if we do whatever it is we do, how is it that we can be operating my great 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 grandson's life as Keith Garcia when I should be, in theory, in another body, reincarnated in another
Well,
timeline?
they're going to be operating whomever has the body, the physical vessel, because, like you said, the spirits want a physical vessel.
Mm-hmm.
So, think about how the sperm cell. Think about it, we are a miraculous birth, 1 in 500 million, right? So what happens to those other 499.99, million different cells?
Well, I'm not convinced that those cells have fully functional consciousness in them until they connect, and then like who fucking knows? But in my head, I at least see
Those
it
are
as
the
like,
ancestors because sperm is light. Because
uh-huh.
what basically the science on that, or the science of the star or star seed, a star seed is sperm because it is light, and the womb is darkness. So what does the light do to the womb? It lights it up. So that
Mm-hmm.
thing, it starts the engine, it turns on the car.
Mm-hmm.
So when you have the one cell that makes it, that becomes the child,
So you're
all
saying, so what about the egg then? You're saying the egg does not have a consciousness?
the egg does. We're gonna get there. We're gonna, we're gonna so as this process happens with the egg, every those seeds that did not make it, they didn't catch a body, they will form into that body. They will mesh into you, and they become your 72 trillion cells,
I see.
or the ancestors. So there's the ones that didn't make it that now have a chance to thrive inside of a body, and then there are the ancestors that actually lived before, and they go and live inside of us.
Yeah, but but it's got to be an essence. It can't be the exact consciousness of your great great grandpa John Hancock, right? It's got to be their essence, because that's
Well,
what I'm
that's
saying. That their consciousness should be operating like for me, for example, like I'm not going to be able to reincarnate and be my new body and still transport my consciousness into my great great grandchild.
well,
You know what I mean? Or can I? That's my
consci-
question.
consciousness is the spirit. The soul is going to go back home, and the spirit will be left here, like ghosts and stuff. So the spirit is basically the animation or their consciousness. So
I
yes, their
see.
will live inside of you. The
So,
soul will
uh-huh.
go where it needs to go. It will go home and so that's kind of that split.
So that's my, yeah, I guess you answered my question. So you're saying that it is an essence. It's the essence of Keith will be guiding future generations, but not the
Exactly.
soul of Keith.
Exactly.
All
The
right, I
soul
like that.
or else. That's because the spirit can be recreated.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
The soul is all pervading. So like basically put it to you like this. The spirit is the angel and the soul is the demon. The spirit lights the way. It is our that is our guide. They talk about spirit guides. That is just the light. So when you go into the darkness, you have to you shine the light and you see what's there. And so what the spirit is doing is shining a light on the soul, and these are the things we want to experience. So your soul is the GPS. I call it driving Miss Daisy. The
Uh-huh.
spirit is driving the car, and the soul's like, hey, go here, go here. I want to experience these things. And the spirit being the animation,
Uh-huh.
our way we can wave our hands, the masculine energy, the soul being the feminine energy, and that's how they work together. Or that's kind of like the science of the twin flame that nobody talks about. It's really a soul and the relationship between the soul and the spirit of one person and interacting with another person as well.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
That's that's what's happening here. Your soul is, your soul is in ignorance, in darkness. It 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 knows it is everything. The spirit is like, okay, I'm shining a light on this, and it sees everything. There are some things you don't want to see. So there's some things that will remain in darkness. But for the things that you have like an urge to or a desire to experience, it is the job of the spirit to make that happen. And then that's
Mm.
how, so through consciousness, because the
Spirit's
spirit,
kind of the fuel, maybe.
yeah, the spirit is the father or the air, and then the waters. You know how the ocean, they say the ocean hasn't really been explored. It's darkness, really. That is the mother. And then you have the earth, daughter, and then the sun, obviously. And those are the four elements, but you have the interaction between the father and the mother. And in the mind, that would be the interaction between the conscious mind and the unconscious mind, and the subconscious mind is the child, the son and the daughter, the creation of those two things.
Hmm. Got it. Hey, man. Leave your paraphernalia in the chat room. Hello, everyone. If you're just tuning in, my name is Keith, man of letters, here bringing knowledge, information, hopefully at the very least, some entertainment. This is my boy Alchemy.
For real.
Um, we're just chatting. I wanted to put somewhat of an emphasis on grounding. There's been a lot of stuff coming up
Yeah.
in the sphere of homies and the external world at
Mhm.
greater of just being too heady and getting just we need
Yeah.
to bring it. It's we're going in the cold season now, so it's time to ground. Importance of grounding. Beyond grounding techniques, because we've heard those are a dime a dozen these days.
Yeah.
What's actually happening? Like what's happening to your physical body? What's the chemical reactions happening? What does it allow you? How does it change your experiences when you are able to ground regularly? Um, and that's where we've been so far. A little bit of spirit, a little bit of action. So if you're new, say hello in the chat room. We got Caleb, Seafly, what's cracking, Omega. All y'all, thanks for hanging. It's Friday.
Hell
What
yeah.
was it? Is it the portal tonight? We got 11:11 going on.
Yeah. 11:11.
What's up? Nice. Leave your Etsy because someone asked you for your Etsy alchemy.
Okay. Shit. Let me put that.
Or if anyone else has a plug, we have some moderators. I think Seaflower's in there if she can help you out with a plug. But either way,
Okay.
um,
Go on
yeah.
my
So if
phone.
you guys have any questions, or you want to have any answers, or want to chime in with grounding, or if you've been feeling kind of crazy, I've been dealing with anxiety attacks, and I had an anxiety attack once a few years ago, and not since, and out of nowhere, I've just been. So there's definitely something going on, man, and the grounding's been big on my mind. And I've been seeing it going through the population, and it's necessary right now.
Can definitely get into that, because it's all about, to me now, I'm starting to see it's all about how it makes us feel. Because what they don't tell us, the realm of manifestation is the realm of the senses, or the realm of feeling, which
Mm,
is what in the works, what Neville Goddard talks about. Oh, feeling is the secret, but he never says why.
the why, see, the why is
Very important.
I would say the most important. It's easy to know mechanics. It's easy to know like 2 + 2 = 4. Yeah, but why? Well, you got two of those things, and you put those with
Mhm.
those ones, and so the why
The
is
why
here. Yeah.
is very key, because what it does is it puts the conscious mind, or the ego, at ease.
Oh, 100%. Well said,
it,
man.
it tells it, okay, now I'm going to do this because I know what I'm getting out of it, or I know exactly
Yeah.
what it
Yep.
does. So, like, when you hear him say, oh, feeling is the secret, well, it's because we're in the realm of manifestation, material. So we're feeling, we're touching these things. We're using our senses, whether it be sixth sense, our sense of taste, or higher senses, or we don't even know about. These
Mm-hmm.
run off of feeling. That is
Well,
the other side to the age of Aquarius. The age of Aquarius is all about I know, but why do you know? You know because you feel.
feeling is that first point of contact to get something on the physical plane before you can actually touch it. Those emotions
Exactly.
are the tether. The
You
emotions are the
gotta
tether.
create the feeling up here when you do like an imaginal act, or like when you're having inner conversations, you feel a certain type of way, whether it be this way or that way, you know. Kind of like when you're at, we've all probably worked a job out in corporate world, and you're mad at your manager because they on some bullshit, so you're cussing on your mind and shit, and you feel a certain type of way about it. That feeling is what's going to drive the point home, like
Mm-hmm.
100%. So this is how, like, I've been creating things in my mind using these imaginal acts and scenes I create, but I'm adding in the huge element of feeling, even if you don't per se feel it. Once you have repetition with something, you know, it's all about the intention first, but as you do it over and over and over again, you will cultivate an actual true feeling, but it's always working for you, you know.
Yeah, but it's I I hear you, but I'm not sure if I can always wrap my head around that because sometimes when you repeat something, you actually lose feeling because it comes a little more mundane and monotonous, and you sort of take it for granted. That's what I'm looking for.
Then that's
Um,
what you need to work through. That's
What's
what it.
that?
Then that's what you need to work through. That's what it is, because think about the subconscious. How do you program the subconscious?
Repetition.
Bingo. That's just what it is.
Yeah.
Set, repetition, trauma. Trauma is a spike in emotion. One
Uh-huh.
way. So we always view trauma as a bad thing, but trauma is just a spike in emotion. When you get
So
really
for someone who wants to create an emotion, is going through the repetition and believing it's working or hoping it's working, but still not feeling it. Because we have this conversation all the time. Like, you got to
yeah,
feel the emotion drives in. But if you don't actually sincerely and genuinely feel that, but you would
you can
almost
still
feel like you're
feel it.
lying to yourself,
Because
what
remember,
piece of advice would you give for that situation?
the subconscious mind doesn't know what's real. It does not know.
So it
So
doesn't matter if you sincerely, I
yeah,
believe you, I agree with you, but so you're
yeah,
saying it does not matter if you sincerely
yeah,
can't feel the happiness as long as you keep fucking going through the mode.
exactly. Because eventually you keep doing it, you will feel it. But as when you in that point where you don't, it doesn't know the difference. It thinks it is feeling it.
Yeah, 100%.
This is
That's
how
yeah.
we're able to create things in our life we don't want.
Mm.
We were temporarily mad at someone, and something
Or maybe
happened.
not. We think it's temporary,
Yeah,
but if it
yeah,
happens 2 or 3 times a week, two or
yeah,
three times a
exactly.
day, that's pretty perverse, man. It's pretty
Yeah,
insidious, and people don't realize that.
it does. So I have this Patreon podcast called Be the Programmer, and this is what we're talking about. Right now, symbols, repetition, and trauma. We're about 11 episodes into season one, and I'm going through it all. And yeah, it's just like if you can just get through it, get through the repetition, because that's just what it is. It's like getting good at a sport.
Mm.
So once you get to the point where you might say you're taking for granted or you're not feeling it, you might just be in the zone.
Mm.
It's kind of like batting practice, or
It's a good way of putting it because no one likes well, most people don't like practice, but you still do it anyways. You know what I'm
right.
saying?
You're gonna be always feeling something
Uh-huh.
here. So it's just like practice. You just keep going, you keep going harder, you keep seeing where I can, and eventually that kid that was practicing at 8, now they're 30, they're in the league.
Mm-hmm.
They're balling in the NBA or something like that because of that repetition. And then the symbols, you put the symbols around you, or you have symbols so people have like role models or whatever. And then you have the emotions, the energy and motion, which is just trauma.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know, we all think that trauma is this bad thing, but trauma is just like when you get really fucking happy, that's trauma. That's not a bad thing. It's just a spike in emotions, one way or the other, that takes you out of the neutral. Like we're kind of in a neutral point right now. We're just chopping it up.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like, hey man, what's up? He's kind of like, like
I was I was just about to say, hey man, I miss having conversations with you. I think I had a little spike in the trauma right
yeah, that's
there.
what it is. But it's like a lot of the times we have people come through and they explain things from one polarity, and you get one side of the story and not the whole thing. It's either here or it's here. They never do the middle pillar, where you get both energies and you can make
Mhm.
a full decision for yourself. Like, okay, this is what I want to do. Instead of making a decision based upon, now I got to cut out, now I got to stop doing this and this because they said this is bad for me. They,
Uh-huh.
kind of the whole veganism. But what if they just told you, what if you're just supposed to integrate these things into your lifestyle instead of trying to be the Buddhist monk on a fucking cliff where there's nobody around? Because that's just as bad as the opposite of that.
Yeah,
It's the
no,
same thing.
definitely. Yeah. Um, I would say that it's funny because a lot of sort of woke the woke spiritual folk are like they like to wear that empathy as a badge, and it's almost like like it's a cool factor to be overly sensitive or not be around crowds. It's like the thing like, oh, I can't be around crowds of people, I'm too sensitive. It's almost like a badge of honor. It's like, I don't know, man. Like I understand that people tend to be, outgoing or ingoing. That's totally cool. But I think you said, I think one side is just as bad as the other if it's out of
Yeah,
balance.
Exactly. And we're already perfect. We all society just gets us to lean here or here. It gives us the perception of now I gotta go here. So if I'm on the left side, I feel like now I gotta go all the way to the right side because I was doing this, when really you can just stop in the middle. Because if I'm going to go from the left side to the right side, the left side has to cross the middle, and same thing for the right. So that's where all the power is. It's in the middle.
how
That's why.
how how would you in your words tie that into, maybe you could just say like fuck it, be yourself, or you know what I mean? While still being morally correct, but like just be yourself. Whatever that, just be real, be true. Per,
Mhm.
please update your software as often as possible, but like but keep your soul in it. Be yourself.
Yeah. Well, basically, that's just now that you're seeing things from that middle perspective, you can use both of those energies, because sometimes we do certain things that may be considered not so good, and some things the opposite, and we just
Uh
use those energies as as we know we need to in our life. So
yeah.
it's really taking account of who you know you are, of knowing who you are at this point, who you know where you want to be and where you've been.
I know I can
And that's
be
time
what I
travel,
wanna be.
because they always talk about, oh, the present moment, but the present moment is shaped by us looking into our past. Okay, I should do more of that or less of that, and then this is what I want to do or who I want to be.
Some self-reflection, yeah, 100%
And then
healthy, some healthy self-reflection, yeah.
that's the future, that's the past, and then right now it's like, okay, I'm going to act on those act. I'm going to formulate the plan right now so that I can make that happen.
Well, see, that's the thing with practice that you that struck a nerve when you brought up with sports, is because that's why you take 100 hacks on the baseball field,
Yeah,
so that when you're in the game you don't have to think about it. Like there's a time
exactly.
when you think about the past, when you write down your goals, when you write down your future, when you like look at your past and go, I fucked up there, I did not like that feeling, or like, you
Exactly.
know, I'm romanticizing that part of my past, but you know that I didn't like that shit. And so then when we're in the moment, we've had that training, we don't have to think about it. We can hit that flow a little better. Like this is fucking
Hmm.
athletes 101. You practice
Yeah,
so that you can hit your flow.
and that's brain waves. That's going through the brain waves as well.
Yes, sir.
What it's like, the whole, it's like you have gamma, which is like, I call it the genius frequency.
Was
You
that
have, oh, what were you saying?
I was gonna say the gamma. You're gonna have like I feel like I learned the gamma delta betas like twice a year, and I forget them every year. Like
Gamma.
start
It'll
from the
be,
highest and then go to the lowest.
so it'll be gamma,
Uh-huh.
beta, alpha, theta, delta.
So theta delta, is that like the lucid dreaming stuff they play at night? Is the really long or
Yeah,
no?
theta. Yeah, okay. So, theta and delta is like the dreamless sleep. Delta is the brainwave that, you know, we're in when we're in really,
Like
really
repair.
deep, deep sleep. There's just like nothing, the deep nothingness, the void. It's like the shit that's uh, before transformation or physical death.
Uh-huh.
Because it's like zero point 0.5 hertz to like, what is it, like 6 or 7? 0.5 hertz to like 4 hertz. Yeah, to 4 hertz. 0 hertz is obviously death. So,
I'm not
but
sure zero exists.
yeah, you
Well,
know,
I guess yeah, I guess it does. If
it,
the brain is vaporized, it's no longer putting out
yeah,
frequencies, to
it
be
goes
fair.
to it goes to putting out frequencies in a whole nother. That's a whole nother
Yeah,
episode.
yeah, that's what I meant. It was like,
Because
no, 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 not. There's no such thing as death. Like, no, if
yeah,
we
because
incinerate your
it's
brain, it
like,
will no longer be putting
yeah,
out a frequency. I promise you that.
transform into something else or something else. And so the delta is like that really, really deep, like what people might call the sunken place. It's almost like the void, the nothingness, the everything. And then you have theta, that's that programmed state.
All right, yeah, that's right. Yeah, 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 yeah.
That's, alpha and theta are programming states, because alpha is you're cool, you're relaxed, you're not really thinking about too much. You're kind of just like smoking a joint, not even reflecting, like you're just in stillness.
Uh huh.
Like when people do stillness meditations,
Just observation, basically. Very
mhm,
little judgment and processing, mostly observation.
and
That's alpha.
yup, alpha. And so this is how you can hack the whole dating community because they're on bullshit talking about alpha males and beta males. So I'm like, is there only two brainwaves then? I thought we go through the process of five brainwaves, and you know, put the alpha and beta brainwave together. I'm pretty sure you should be able to keep a woman because
Yo,
the
that's
beta.
fucking. You need to start your own dating channel, dude. Bring it back.
Just think about what they call the beta. Oh, the beta is the one that panders
Passive.
to the woman, make sure she's okay, holds the door for her, but she
Basically
won't.
overly passive and then alpha
Yeah,
overly aggressive.
exactly. You put those two things together, you'll.
You got a machine. You got a stud.
That's what I'm talking. So that's why I'm like, they're trying to divide. Like the biggest thing here is division.
Interesting.
It's one of those things. Damn if you do, damn if you don't. Because you could kind of say like, we have choices here: red, blue, green, vanilla ice cream, chocolate ice cream. So, that form of division isn't always bad because we have our choices. But when you go to try to divide people by race, by the on purpose, by this, by that, that's one of the higher level forms of magic here: separation and division,
Mm,
which is going on right now, highly. Like with the whole, they're bringing up the whole Jews and everything again in the
they
media.
are. All right, so I got a question for you, Sensei. Going with the sort of Aikido approach, which is a martial arts that uses the enemy's weight against them with the magic of divide. Can you how would you use the energy of dividing maybe celebrating what's different in races or acknowledging what's different in people
Ah,
who you know what I mean? It's a is there a way you can swing that positive?
hell yeah, there's always a way. There's will, there's a way. So if you look at what everybody brings to the table, I see it. I've been thinking about this. I see it as a divine puzzle. Keith has a
Beautiful.
puzzle piece that you bring to just like me, and it could be an edge piece, or you can have a couple of pieces. It could be some center pieces, but you put those down. I put mine down. Everybody puts theirs down, and we start trying to put this puzzle together. You start to see we all have something to chip in. So think about it like this. I was hearing jokes like how it's like if we go based off stereotypes. Now none of these things have to be inherently real, but if you go based off stereotypes, if you look at say the whole white people and black people, what happens if we were to come together, bro? That would be powerful. We would have seasoned food and our taxes would be done. Like that, who doesn't want that? That's powerful. You think about it like that, it's like, damn, no wonder we're divided, bro. If we start using these things that culturally we're all good at, we'll all thrive. You know, it's kind of like how I've been studying the latter day Jewish community, so to speak, the ones they say run Hollywood, or the Hasidic Ashkenazi. If you look at their fucking community, bro, it's something to be revered.
Hmm.
Like if you were in the if we're in that community, bro, and where we got family, there's the religion, there's this, there's that. You come up with a new business, bro. You don't even have to really hope and wish somebody's gonna support you. You're gonna walk your first day,
Yeah.
motherfuckers are gonna be in there buying your shit because they
Yeah.
support the community. There's gonna be somebody that is close to you that's gonna bring people in there on your opening day to buy shit and to say, hey, they're gonna go into the outside world and promote this shit. But
Yeah.
within the community, just within the community, you can make millions. They do that type of shit.
Yeah. 100%.
So by studying these things, okay, instead of saying, okay, who's the real Jews, who's not, I don't really give a fuck at this point because I can find out that I want I want to know the aspect of community, common unity.
That they prevail at.
Yeah, yeah, this is why they can have a say in Hollywood or in these because they put their money together.
Hmm.
And then once you do that, when you have a community, that's when you're able to sway political elections, all this kind of thing. That's when, you never really hear of Jewish people getting fucked up by the police anymore. Because they have too much money in their community, they will, they will cap for their people. They will cape for their people. Like,
Hmm. You'll have the best lawyers in the nation showing up on
yeah,
the doorstep
yeah.
within 12 hours. Like, excuse me, sir.
And then the judge that's gonna arraign the case is gonna be in somebody's back pocket. Bingo, you just won.
Mm.
That's how powerful community is. So
Well, what's good, dog? We got to get this community together.
yeah, I mean it's like I think that community really starts off with neighborhood.
At the local level.
Because think about it like this. I remember there was a time where I grew up, 90s kid, where how the Jewish people can build a community like that is being active in their own neighborhoods. Like, this is where block parties come from. If you have block parties and you have everybody's kids playing together, you have everybody's parents smoking and drinking and having a good time. So if you have a business and I have a business, we can kind of maybe do something, or there's a support level there, at least at the
Mm.
level of community. You know who's in your neighborhood, you know and then if this neighborhood's doing it, that neighborhood's doing, then it becomes a, a centralized power
Yeah.
for a while.
Noted.
This is how you
Noted.
build that shit up. That's what I've just been studying. I'm like, oh, this is why they have so, and everybody does it except for the so-called black race, whatever you want to call it. Only ones have some
They
of the
used
largest.
to when they first were freed, and they start that new bank. What was it? Possibly saw it. There was a bank of the Black Wall Street.
Yeah, yeah. You see, so
Black Wall Street,
it's
and they
there.
slayed. They were able to get an extraordinary amount of power within us. Do you know the story behind that? I'm gonna have to wiki that. It's Black Wall Street got burned down or
Yeah,
something. They gave the black people their own first national black bank, and they just fucking they
yeah.
took over almost immediately.
That's very very crazy thing, because when they burnt it down, then you have the whole. This is when segregation and things starting to come into play. It's like, okay, I see what's going on.
Yo, yeah.
They don't want bloodlines to be mixed, you know, but then they do. This is the whole wombs and alien spirits things come in, DNA grafting and DNA braiding.
Yo, what's up with the wombs and spirits thing?
Okay, so you've heard of Star Trek,
Yeah.
tracking stars and trekking the stars. So we do so through astrology and astronomy. So these ladies in the Sudan cult in West Africa, because the womb is magnetic, it pulls shit in. So what
Copy, definitely.
they learned how to track the stars, and they would pull certain brilliant stars into their womb. Because remember,
Wow.
we are the stars on Earth.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
The Vitruvian man, put your arms and your legs out, fucking star. So the fallen angels are stars, they're us. Because the angel that comes to Earth has to become the demon, because its vibratory rate has to slow down to 7.8.
Yes, sir. Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
So this is why the process of ascension we become angelic. So the angel and demon is the same. It's the brilliant star and the star that is not brilliant.
To varying degree. That's like straight out of the Kabbalion right there.
Yeah. So they would be able to pull these brilliant things, these brilliant stars or suns, because a star is a sun, into their womb, because their womb is a fucking magnet. So it's a black hole. Pussy's a black hole, so we're gonna pull it in there, and they could bring certain things down. This is how people bring certain. This is how certain women bring celebrities into this world. Literally, brilliant stars, geniuses. So if you know, like today is 11/11. It's a portal. So I bet you there's some. This would be a time where they would pull certain things into the womb, certain spirits.
You hear that, ladies and ladies out there? You guys are gonna have to do some womb pulling tonight. You've
Yeah,
heard of oil pulling. We're doing womb pulling tonight.
they will pull it into their body, and then they would then you
You
know
talk. You talking immaculate conception type shit, or
Yeah,
they need
yeah.
the man and then the spirit will
It's
be?
the whole nine. The immaculate conception is when they pull that in to the room, they become pregnant with that star, and then the man comes and inseminates them.
Mm,
That whole thing. And then and it's usually a jinn that does it because their husband, the husband comes from what a husband actually is a host for a jinn. A male is a male host for a jinn spirit, and a wife is a female host for a jinn spirit. So like the whole betrothed, okay, they would betroth a woman to this man, and they would they would let the jinn spirit come into the man. The man would just be a vessel because the jinn, this is the world we're in, is the world of the jinn. We kind of took this shit from them. They want their shit back.
hmm.
So I understand their plight. So as beings who would do anything to experience their world again through DNA grafting, DNA braiding, so that when that man inseminates that woman, that jinn is now that child they create, the Christ, is now the first, first that has that, jinn bloodline, and then the jinn can experience the world through that child.
Completely. Like that
Crazy,
child isn't part human, part jinn. It's a jinn.
crazy. You got to get this. This shit is very serious occult work.
Sounds
Wild.
next level. I'm gonna write this one down. Hold on. Write it in the well, what is it?
Wombs and Alien Spirits by Janice Bodie. I got the PDF. I'll post it on my community tab because they gave all. I think they gave all its creators that tab now.
I might have to I might have to run that one as an audiobook. Maybe some live readings.
It's good, bro. Like it has a dictionary and like a glossary to explain all the words and stuff, like what it means. Like I'm not even all the way through it, but I've done a fair amount of channeling with my friend who did finish the book like months before, and like I understand it. Seven Bomar is the one who made us aware of it. Some serious stuff, and I'll go deeper on DNA braiding, what that really is.
it all right. So
The
I
whole
talked about this on a live the other night. There's a book called Hair of the Alien, and long story short, this dude finds a piece of hair wrapped around his dick. When he wakes up in the morning, it's cutting off circulation to it, and he's like freaking out. Goes to the bathroom, and he's like, "Whoa!" Can't tell his wife because how is he gonna explain that? But he's a scientist. So he has scientist homies. Sends it to a lab. Comes back half human, with heavy Basque influence, which is its own rabbit hole, and the other half not human. And and then he has more experiences where he says that he's actually having intercourse with this very attractive woman. Like he's basically abducted and then has sex with this very attractive woman who's clearly not is human enough to be attractive, but clear like big eyes, like
Mhm.
disproportionate face, and so some
Yeah,
sort of breeding program. Aliens, there's some aliens, abductions, ETs, friggin' hybrid. Like the book, the thing touches on everything, and the cool part is he has that hair that proves it. Does that fit in this gin thing at all?
it could be definitely a part of that. It's that's what it seems, but I would say more or less we're gonna go just based on some simplicity, crazy stuff. So let's take the royal families. So you have all these royal families, like how they became inbred, because what they like to do is this: like you have all these royal families, they all want the throne, but they all want their lineage to have certain royal tendencies and certain things. So they're only going to breed with royal families. That's DNA braiding. They're going to breed, say this family is a family of warriors. They're going to breed those warriors into this family of like alchemists, into this all until they have, until they have certain things going on, because then it's just people who just want to recycle back into that family, because a lot of
Mm.
times we cycle back into our family. So if we set it up, if we do the work, we can set ourselves up to not have to come back to poverty, come to back
I
to a kingdom.
see. I see. They're
See,
cycling souls by
yeah,
inbreeding.
they're figuring out how to come back into that same lineage, and then in one form they may have been, their family may have struggled, but now since they've done the work, now their family is
They're plugging into their same their same genealogy, basically.
yeah.
Are they plugging in with memory too?
Yeah, because remember, Thoth teaches you how to take your consciousness with you.
A user, what does he look to the wet you
Yeah,
sunset, right?
and this is when you become the genius or the brilliant. Like the jinn is just the genie, it's just your genius.
Sorry, I'm hearing wild noises coming from all around me at the same time. The fuck's going on?
That that's just our genius. So we all have an inner jinn. Like these motherfuckers are powerful. That's where a lot of super they can bestow a lot of supernatural abilities. Once you study these things and you study all these different spirits and entities, I guarantee you they're in your bloodline somewhere. So then you can activate that shit. You don't even have to work with them. You can activate it. So this is the dormant or junk DNA. Everybody's dormant and junk DNA has some sort of different aspect because we're all a fragment of the one soul. Like I said, this is all a big divine puzzle. Everybody has something to offer that's, different, but the same.
What's the biggest bane to activating something like that?
So to me, I would say just studying self,
Can you be more
figuring.
specific?
So like,
Like, what does that look like to you?
okay, so um,
How does
look at
alchemy study self, study
so
his self?
so here's what I do normally, and there's a lot of different things. Look at the things you like to do, the colors you like to wear. Do you like to smoke? You like to smoke? That's element of air. So you can create. You can find a. There might be a deity that's attached to that, or certain things, or you know, look at who you are, who you believe you are, who you want to be. All of these different things. What do I do on a day-to-day basis? All of these different things. What are my desires?
Hmm.
Because then these things can correlate to something, and you might be able to find it in mythology. You can, you can find an event or a symbol, or basically a symbol, and activate that, through the intention, through the mind. And I would say just experiment and see what works. Study, obviously study these things, but the intention is going to be great enough. Because how are people doing these things anyway? They got to know what's in themselves that it's just possible just through their intention. And they keep going and going and going until they get something. Then they can write it down or whatever. They can write a book, or they can keep it within the family. However, when you're studying yourself, you can just say, okay, so what deities am I drawn to normally?
Hmm.
That right there should tell you something, just a bunch of things about yourself.
Just
You
that alone. Yeah, 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 yeah.
you might say I'm very drawn to the Houthi, so and other Egyptian deities. So that's already something that I can tap into, and my D has got to be there. It's one of those things where it's like that's not for no reason, more than likely, but follow the synchronicity. So
Yeah.
what are you seeing over and over and over again? That's going to lead you somewhere too. You know what I'm saying? It's
Yep.
like, okay, there's something to this.
Yep. 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 Yo,
And
give your paraphernalia in the comment section. Everyone, this is Alchemy for just tuning
oh
in.
shit,
We got some folks. We got Goddess Essence. Hello. Yesenia. Hello. Seaflower, if you're still there.
hold on, let me go back.
Ambiguous Figs, if you're still there, would love uh to do an interview with you. Um, nice. Thanks for chilling, everybody. We started this topic with grounding because it's getting too heady out there, man. It's getting too heady. There's I love horror movies, but there's far too many horror movies they're putting out these
Yeah,
days. Horror
yeah.
series, horror movies, and like that's not by mistake. Um,
I'm trying to tell you.
chaos and wars and prices and It's just like spirituality. There's just so many misinformation, disinformation. There's a lot. There's a lot out there. So, um, man, we're talking about the importance of grounding, what it does for the body, what it does for the soul,
Mm-hmm.
its importance in manifesting shit. I mean,
Well,
you in order to manifest something, after all, you do need to start in the mind and tether it to the physical realm, which
exactly.
literally is grounding itself. But
That
it's
is the
also,
whole process of the tree of life and the Kalipoff. And the Kalipoff being the backside of the tree, or Doth, you or that hidden spirit that's right here, the throat chakra. That is the quantum tunnel, or in Stranger Things, the upside down world. It's just the Kalipoff.
mm,
So I'm not sure if you've seen the new season.
yeah,
So Vecna, if you go and look at the trio. Let me go get my Neon Fortune book. Hold on.
get it.
Where is that?
Bum 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 bum. Ba-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Thanks everyone for chilling with us. By the way, miss you guys. Haven't been running too many lives. I'm sorry. Been slamming the music scene hard this year. Um, and it's been a hell of a ride. But I do miss you guys, and we'll make it a point to go live more. We're getting a lot of requests to finish my Colburn Bible audiobooks. But the last one was 5.5 hours long. So as you can imagine, it's quite the endeavor to partake in. Um, nice goddess essence, doing some throat chakra cleaning and healing this week.
I can't find it, but if you look up the Tree of Life and the Kalipoff, same shit. Just angels, demons. If so, the Tree of Life, we've all seen it before, like the Kabbalah version. The Kabbalah, what it looks like. It has all these different pathways, and each pathway is associated with a tarot card. Now, you've seen Vecna, and he's like this, and he has all these different pathways. That's the pathway of the soul, all these different pathways. That's the fucking Kalipoff and the Kabbalah. They were showing us that right there in front of our face. So with him in that demonic form, that's the Kalipoff, or the backside of the tree, or the upside down world.
Uh huh.
That's where all the power is. And you emanate that power through the light, shine a light on it. That is the tree of life. The angels, they project. The demons are magnets. They take all light. It's like a vagina. It takes all light, and then it projects it like a phallus. A phallus, it projects light. So basically, they were showing us all the different pathways of the soul. That's how I see the Kabbalah, just pathways of the soul. In the quickest way, up and down, from Malkuth to Kether. But before then, you'll hit Doth, the hidden spear or knowledge or the throat chakra, and that's how you can quantum tunnel through one side, through one tree to the other, to one side of the tree to the other,
Quantum tunneling to the backside of the tree.
through the fucking throat. Because what does the throat chakra do? We express it. We take all that we see and we try to express it verbally, or make it happen through the word.
In the beginning.
There was word. You know,
Yep.
it's crazy, but it explains it all there. So Dion Fortune Mystical Kabbalah is a good book to get. It is a very, very good book. It's very simple. It breaks shit down. Every spear has a tarot card, you know, so you can kind of, it's very, very simple. Very simple stuff. But, grounding, getting back on that subject, whatever you're called to do. So some people, depending on where you are, if it's colder in your region or not, you don't have to go all Wim Hof and go in the snow. But if you want to do that, hey,
Unless you, yeah, about to say, unless you're down for that kind of thing.
Yeah, but grounding is just going back to self, getting back to where you can get back within self and, doing those things. So are you a writer? Have you not been writing? Are you,
Yo, I have not been writing, and I am a writer.
what is your art form? Do it, you know, it's because that's going to put you back into your own self expression, because when we're not grounded, we're in everybody else's expression or where we think we should be in. It's
Wait, say that
possible,
again for the people in the back. That was a
when we're not
fantastic line.
grounded, we're in everybody else's expression and not our own.
Mm, amen. I got to
You
remember
know,
that. I got to
so
remember that.
we have to remember to put our projections out there. What do we want to do? You know, what do we want to do? What do we want to be? Who do we want to be with? These type of things. This is where the law of assumption is key. This is where I've studied a bit of Neville Goddard's information to where I can see, okay, I can tether it with the occult knowledge and wisdom that I have. It's like, okay,
Hey, can you break down that law of assumption real quick for us?
so basically, on a without you having with you can, and there's 1,000 fucking law of assumption coaches on YouTube. Just
Really?
there's 1,000 channels. I have the few that I watch. I'm like, okay, they're just like with any community,
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
assumed to be true will be true, made by ourselves. Because think about the things that we have assumed and they have become real, and it's like, oh shit, maybe I should watch my thoughts.
Uh-huh.
Keep assuming it, and then you start to do so with feeling, shit will manifest.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It goes beyond the law of attraction. What law of attraction? What Esther Hicks did is she just ripped off the law of assumption, never got, and just spun it her own way.
I feel like everyone's fucking spinning all these early 20th century writers their own way, dude. I'm reading all these old
Yeah,
books and I'm just like, yo, this is and they do it better back then too. It's a
yeah.
little more concise, it's a little less
Mm-hmm.
heady and woo woo. What's like up there?
I'm
Yeah,
telling you.
less gimmicky. It's all the
Yeah,
same shit. It's,
because Esther Hicks is talking about the vortex. What she's really talking about is the womb, darkness, where you create from. With Jupiter, where you expand your growth. Because we're in our mother's womb, what do? We expand, we grow, and then she pushes us out into what? The light. So we came from the realm of demons, the into the tree of light. And, the emanations. And now when we learn to go between the two, so it's like when we go on a path of self, learning about self, shadow work, kind of preserving our power. That's the backside of the tree. It's teaching us. So we have a lot of tougher lessons. And then on the other side, now that we've kind of gone through that at one level, we can now express these things there, through the other side. Or that's how the Jewish would deal with it in Kabbalah, because it deals with symmetry and different things of that nature. So the law of assumption is just what we assume to be, what our assumptions become fact. They harden into fact at some level. So, and sometimes not all of them do, obviously, because we have so many different thoughts, but our dominant assumptions become real. And that's the process of programming the subconscious mind. So that's the whole seeing it before it's here, you know, because that's where everything comes from. It's gonna
how is that different than everything else that we learn, like in say hermetics, like a law of vibration or law of correspondence,
it's
as
exactly
above.
what it is.
Is it any different than anything else you've been taught? Like, is there a
No,
reason?
no.
All right.
Basically, his teachings is the teaching of the all-pervading principle of mentalism.
Mm, all right.
Basically, when you get down to it, I'm like, oh, this is just the principle of mentalism. It has all the seven principles
It
in it,
does. It does,
but
or at least it has everything
mm-hmm,
that you would need. It does, yeah. It's almost like the other six just kind of help you
yeah,
conceptualize it.
like I said before, the other six principles are the principle of mentalism being expressed,
hmm
because it comes from the principle of mentalism is the mind of God,
hmm
the all pervading mind of God. So that's, we go into our imaginations. We do it all the time. So we have to, instead of like getting on ourselves when we're thinking negative about a situation and feeling some sort of way, it's like, why don't you, instead of, you catch yourself, but then observe yourself like, okay, how can I do this with my goals?
Uh-huh.
It's where you kind of form a mental diet. So my mental diet is this: I'm cutting out,
What are you
like,
cutting out?
so like what I'll do is I'll cut out certain things and I'll keep certain things, and you know so like I'm going to add in my own affirmation tapes that I make from scratch, my own meditations and affirmation
Hearing
tapes.
your own voice is powerful. I suggest that to all you guys. The YouTube affirmations are dope. Don't get me wrong for
But
some
you never
spice,
know,
but the powerful ones are your own voice, definitely.
what they're putting behind this, because when I started to make my own subliminal meditations, I'm like, okay, who knows what they're, because you can't really hear it. Like if you do it to a certain level, I'm like, okay, this is powerful, but you just don't know who's doing what, who's
I
saying
know.
what, when you can't really hear. You might be able to hear the meditation, but they could have thrown a track at -6 decibels in the back that's saying some fucked up shit.
Or just frequencies, dude. There's
Yeah,
just straight up
exactly.
frequencies out there that you can blast that will fuck with you physically, like make you have
Exactly.
stomach aches and disorientation and stuff like that. CIA was studying that for a hot minute back in the day.
Yeah. So it's like that's one thing that I do, and then what I do is I cut down my consumption of certain music that I
What
know.
music?
So like even my favorite artists. So if I'm not really listening to Eminem like that, because or certain artists, because what they're saying is counteractive to what I'm trying to create.
Regardless of good or bad.
Yeah, exactly.
Which
So a lot
which
of
is
times
yeah.
what happened is we want to create something, and then we're like, okay, I want to be this, but then you go right in there and doubt yourself, so it just neutralized.
uh,
So this is why you have to, I am in favor of oversaturating your mind, because at least I
because you
know,
have to, knowing all of
yeah,
this.
I know that this thing will become a dominant thought.
Hmm.
you know so this is where certain law of assumption coaches can help you with motivating yourself, and know it's like, okay, even though I have a deeper understanding of the occult than these motherfuckers, because a lot of them, like, okay, if they only knew this shit, they wouldn't say half the shit they say. Some things I'm like, okay, this shit just clicks. And it'd be the women, bro. The women, these, man, you see, okay, that's how these women are slick in a good way. It's like, okay, they start revealing their little manifestation secrets. Like, oh, okay, this makes perfect sense. This is like these are like keys and gems. I can add that into my practice,
Uh-huh.
type of thing. So I'm
We're all
definitely
just lifting each other up just a little bit at a
exactly.
time. Just a little bit at a time.
They talk about this thing that Neville Goddard always talked about, self concept, which is basically the way you see yourself, your concept of self. What do instead of putting yourself down, saying affirmations and making your own affirmations and scripting, which is just, writing your journal, writing a story, like writing affirmations that, are, they have nothing to do with, like, with, say, more material aspects, but more so how you view yourself. So, a lot of the women, they'll say, oh, they're beautiful, they're a goddess, and the men will say, well, I'm handsome, I'm this, I'm that, because maybe you never felt that way before.
Uh-huh.
So it's going into the other side of the tree, facing those parts of yourself, and then flipping it like with an affirmation that you say over and over and over. So I talked about reprogramming your neural pathways, creating new neural pathways. And the way we do that is by having a new thought. So if you
Mushrooms.
had a thought, where you say that I am strong, you've always thought that you're weak. That all you have to do is say I am strong one time. Neural pathway created. Now repetition is going to strengthen that,
Hmm.
and then what happens is it will create more of those pathways of I am strong, and those are your tunnels, your quantum tunnels, and it will all over your brain. It will start to develop these little, here until it becomes dominant, until you no longer feel that feeling of I am weak is now gone, and it's now not only replaced with an affirmation, but now you feel strong just based off of just saying these things. There is this guy. I'm gonna hook you up with the YouTube channel. I can't remember where right now, but he was talking about reprogramming your neural pathways, and uh, he was so hell bent on proving how just going into your mind is better than starting off in the physical.
Oh
You know,
fuck yeah. Yeah.
so
I mean that's how
he
it starts anyways. Why would you not reinforce that?
so they're like, okay, so he has his own company, this pretty big company. So he was getting contacted by a lot of scientists, a lot of different people say, okay, fucking prove it. So he went and ran the most deadliest, the hardest marathon, which is it was in Africa. And most trained athletes who train for this shit for a living don't finish it. He was able to do it 3 times without with 1%, like 1%, if that, of physical preparation. Everything was in the mind.
No shit.
So this is where reprogramming neural pathways works. So I'm like, oh, he never mentioned Neville Goddard, but the techniques he used in the videos, he went through the whole thing uh, in front of us through another simulation where he rode something called the backwards bike. And he goes through how he, you know, would do it. It took even the most, it took the one person that did do it, that started off physically, it took them 8 months to ride this bike, just like straight, like we would ride a regular bike. 8 months to, because it's a backwards bike, it's supposed to be impossible to ride. But he did it thoroughly through going inside. He would get all his senses involved. He would create the environment. So he would create the environment with like a smell that he smelled before, or just different smells. So like, okay, I'm
He was hitting
outside.
all the senses.
He's like, I'm outside. So he goes in his mind. He's like, I'm outside. I feel the bike. Now you know you
Yeah.
don't really truly feel it, but he's going through. He's like, it smells like this. It smells like oranges. I mean, because he's in
Uh-huh.
Florida,
Uh-huh.
and like this, and I can feel myself riding the bike. And he goes into how it feels. He's like, it feels good. I feel successful. And then he'll see, even if he can't really truly visualize it, he's going through it like that in his mind. And he does that for maybe 30 minutes worth of time over and then how he reprograms the other part is like, okay, he stops calling it a backwards bike. He said, okay, I'm gonna have to rename this motherfucker. It's
Uh-huh. There you go.
it's now called Cyclops. Boom. So no more backwards bike. No more. It's now called Cyclops, and he's doing these things, and he ended up doing it on his first try. So what happens when you reprogram your neural pathways? Like, if you do these type of, if you go into like an imaginal act simply, just like that, before something that you would conceive as difficult, or before having a conversation with someone, say, you really like, and maybe things haven't been going a certain type of way, we already are talking to them in our mind.
Yeah, 100%.
So have a conversation with them where shit works out, and just feel it, and you might make some headway, as opposed to not. It's this type of shit works. You just keep doing it and keep doing it. I would say one person, uh man, there's a lot of these different coaches. It just depends on what you want.
Dude, I mean, I was I play piano and was reading this article about exactly what you're talking about, kids who would practice the piano, kids who would practice piano in their heads,
Mm-hmm.
and the brains were making the same exact neural pathways, and in some cases they were stronger in the kids who were using only their mind. Um, like this data is all over the fucking place. I've actually forgot about that. It's good. Anyone listening, you should definitely. Is there a specific word? You guys gotta check this out. The brain actually makes. We're talking physical, like the brain will make physical neural pathways for actions that
Mm-hmm.
it's never done
Yep.
strictly because what we were talking about before, it doesn't necessarily know what's real and what's not. All perceptions are sort of
Exactly.
are sort of equally absorbed one way or the other. Um,
And this is the
Bruce Lee used to do that. He used to work out in his head. It's one of the things he would work, and that was another study they talked about. People who were exercising in their head were gaining definition, and they used to say, "Well, it's the resistance that causes the muscles to grow." Well, it is, but how do you explain people's definition increasing when they're only thinking about it? It's because the brain is going, "Oh shit!" Like it sees it, it's like, "Oh my god, I'm working out. I need to put more muscle mass into those biceps so they can grow because it
Mhm.
thinks it's working out, even if it doesn't actually feel it."
Exactly, because that neural pathway creates the assumption that it's real. This is why narcissists get everything they want, because they assume they're already gonna get it. They assume you're already gonna do what they want you to do.
Mm.
That's why they get everything, because they're using, without even knowing. These type of people use that type of science without even knowing.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
So you can see in life where it's already working. It's just the thing that most people think that it does work. It just might not work for them.
Yo, you remember Interview with the Devil, right?
Yeah.
The devil called it hypnotic rhythm.
Ah, yeah.
Remember that?
Uh huh.
I remember hypnotic rhythm, and that was the one that stuck with me. And the devil was just like, it's like no, once it's said and no one breaks it. And Napoleon Hill goes, well, it's surely it can be broken. And he goes, well, yeah, technically, but no one ever does. Once that shit is ingrained, once those pathways are built strong enough, no, he's like, no one escapes my grasp, not in this lifetime, at least.
Exactly. So then, once you know this science, we have a greater responsibility to ourselves. You know, to really, they say, oh, we are creators. Okay, well then let's do this thing.
Well,
Let's
maybe
really.
we should stop thinking in terms of fucking creators because it's almost like that's too. I don't want to say egotistical or materialistic. That's not what I mean to say, but it's almost like we're starting too far out. It's like, hey, forget about manifesting and just start programming your brain, bro. Start rewiring your start controlling your prevailing thoughts because
Yeah.
what people don't
Well,
realize is
that's
that
what it
once
would
you
be essentially. I would say we call it creation, but it's merely more replication.
there you go. There you go.
We're taking something from a field that already where it already exists. This is where the Joe Dispenza, the quantum field,
Uh-huh, uh-huh, uh-huh.
everything already exists. So we're we're awakening a pathway where where we are already that self, and putting energy into it. So one thing that I like to do.
Is that how Dispenza describes it? That's interesting.
Yeah, Joe Dispenza. I recently got into a lot of his work, and I see why a lot of people fuck with him. Like at first, I did it because I'm like I already know that stuff, but then I'm like, okay,
He's got a good presentation, good
yeah,
package.
yeah, good. There's something there.
All right.
There's something there.
Some
So
people, some people just are a little more eloquent than others. You know what I mean?
you know, so it's like it already exists because you can think about it. Just like when you want to do better, you're like, okay, I can't keep doing this. This is who I want to be. Boom, you just tapped into right there. Before you weren't, but now you are.
Uh-huh.
So then you just got to
And
keep
you
tapping.
always have been.
You just keep on it, keep on it, keep on it. Learn how to put some emotion into it, and because think about it, you go back to the most ritualistic ancient form of magic with our ancestors in voodoo and hoodoo and obeah. This is the reason why they dance around the fire and
Oh,
dance,
dude, that's energy right there.
because it's emotion. That's when
It's
they begin
music,
to
it's dance, it's repetition, it's
enter
chanting, it's you're hitting
into
everything,
what
dude.
a trance, that brainwave that brings in everything where you can be programmed. And that's where the whole wombs and alien spirits talks about, where the spirit comes in and possesses the person, or
It's so dope, dude.
in church where somebody catches the Holy Ghost.
I
You
I I think this, or I'm wondering if this is why so many of like the great Renaissance people were art was such a huge area where there was like a musician or a painter or a sculptor or something like that. It's like that's such a it's such a powerful way to take something super abstract and ground it and turn it into something
yeah,
physical, get the
it's
imagination going, get the because it really we're limited by our creativity. So people will say like, You're like, well, how do I use my lucid dreams to become a better writer? Like, I don't fucking know, dude. There's probably a million different ways, but if you're not, and your create level of creativity is directly correlated to how many different situations you can come up with to like work something out in the lucid dreaming realm. To, I'm gonna write. I'm gonna have a conversation with Shakespeare. I'm gonna pull up Shakespeare in my lucid dreams, like, hey, what's one tip? Or like Robert Frog, whatever, whoever it is, like the imagination is really is what's gonna limit you on any of this shit. Um,
Exactly. Like the imagination is infinite, it's limitless. So you just gotta tap into that imagination as if you were a child, literally. When we were kids, we had fucking imaginary friends. We're talking to ourselves out loud. We don't care.
yeah,
So our imagination is boundless. Now it has constraints based upon I don't want to feel or look a certain type of way to my friends, my family, who's watching, my followers. Or you say fuck that and just go ahead and do it. You stop caring.
or we don't know, like the hypnotic
Yeah,
rhythm, or we could be running operations or programs that we don't even know are running. And you're like, oh
exactly.
shit, that's how I've been thinking about myself for God knows how long. Like, damn, yo, I didn't realize that.
This is why we go back into self. You go back into self, then you'll start to see these things. You're like, okay. And that's where these things are in the aura, because the aura is just our mind.
Yeah.
The
That's your
aura is
baseline
our mind.
frequency, basically. It's your, you know what I mean? You're
They say the mind of God is, this all it surrounds us. So it's like that. So that's got to be the aura, because the aura is only that, and we are surrounded by that shit. So I would say get in contact with that shit, but by learning how to read and see your own aura and the aura of
hey
things.
yo.
So like, well, one little thing that I like to do is find like a white wall or something in my house. So it's like a wall right here. I have white walls in here. I put my hand up like this, and I just look at my hand like kind of in the peripheral, kind of like my thumbs and kind of like the outside of my hands, like the edge right here, until I get cross-eyed, and you'll start to see something outlining it after a while. If you can keep that and you keep doing that, you'll start to see the color. You start to see things. That's an exercise I like to do. It works. I got it out of
I've
an
never
aura.
done aura seeing exercises.
I got it out of a book, a PDF that a friend sent me. I'll drop that one on my community tab um, late after we get off. But that it's another good one. You know, that's one of the exercises to kind of get you in there, and then you can
Nice.
start to see, like, once you
Type
went bad as fuck with it, you'll start to see if you got holes in your aura. You'll be able to see the aura of someone who's not even right next to you. They can be in a different country. You
to
see
still
it on
tap
the
in.
ash. You just meditate to connect to them and be able to see the shit. Crazy. That's remote viewing.
I was about to say there's a word for that. I guess you could see someone's aura in remote viewing too, dude. I was listening to Ingo Swan stuff at work the other day, and I would just refresh my mind on the possibilities of existence. And I'm just like, yeah, that story where he's poking around the moon, and they see him poking around, and they chase him all the way back to his body. Like, yeah, oh God, yeah, it's almost like I don't know. I just been too. I don't want to say caught up. I've just, I guess, been more interested in um like more just different things
Yep.
outside of that realm. Like I've been playing music and I've been like
Mm-hmm.
raising a child and the family thing. I've been enjoying it, but it's out in the
Yep.
back of my head. I'm always like, one of these days, dude, maybe when I'm like 40 and I don't give a fuck about like, and I just want to chill, I'm just gonna dive balls deep into remote viewing and like, and just go hard, dude, and
It's crazy,
just
man.
like not see the world for 6 months and come out of it just like transformed.
Yeah, because um, when you do that, you creating those pathways that are gonna get really, really, really big, and it's gonna just be like anything else that we've done our whole life.
Anything.
Like a sport we got good at. You
Hmm.
know, just be like Michael Jordan in the fourth quarter. It's just clutch, man.
It's all he took thousands of shots, bro.
Yeah,
That's all he did. He's
like
probably
people.
taking shots in his sleep.
Yeah, exactly.
You
Yeah,
know what I mean? He's literally having dreams of, it's just,
Like, look at Steph Curry. You got to guard him when he walks in the gym. Like, crazy. But he probably, like, one of the drills that I know, because I used to play. I used to play a lot of sports, and used to have a lot of. I've had friends, play basketball, and I was a football player and baseball player. But there's 3-point line, and there's the arcs that they're gonna create. Here's a spot, all these different spots. Spots you're not good at, spots you are good at. He's probably taken 500 shots from each
I
spot.
know, dude. At least probably 5,000 at each. Those dudes on that level,
Yeah,
when I hear how hard people work that are truly,
yeah.
1% of 1% talent wise in any field, these dudes don't fuck around.
Because you
I'm like,
see,
I thought I was busy. Like, I feel ashamed to even talk about my work ethic when I hear stuff like that. Like, all right, that makes sense.
throwing up shots and then turning around before it even gets close to the basket and knows he made it.
It's a
That's
feeling,
crazy.
dude. It's a
Yeah,
feeling. It's a
that's what
feeling.
that's what we're talking about. Feeling is the key. Round. So that's full circle. That's just right there.
All
Feeling
right,
good.
man. Let's start wrapping it up. I have a cold, and I feel like it's super cold outside, and I'm just getting worse out here. I,
But
last questions from anyone in the comment section. If you guys aren't as excited to be reminded about neural pathway building and the such, you should be, because it's fucking probably the easiest, most powerful thing you can do tonight. Like, you go home, drop a deuce in the toilet, you can start then and there. You don't need money,
exactly.
you don't need friends, you don't need
Exactly.
you don't need happiness, you don't need sad, you don't need an emotional state, you don't need a physical state. You just have to be alive, and you have the access to one of the most powerful tools anyone can have. So you guys should be stoked on this. We want to dream, you want to be happier, you want to be more motivated, more inspired, more creative. Man, get that mind going.
Seaflower said is assuming the same thing as expecting. Yes, it is. Because think about a woman who's pregnant. They always say she's expecting. She already assumes. She already knows she's pregnant.
You expecting?
Even if it's a fucking phantom baby.
I guess it feels different if you were to say I'm assuming. Like, are you expecting? Yeah, well, I'm assuming. Like, it's almost like I'm hoping. I
Because
think.
the assumption is the knowing that it's already done. I know that, a hope is like, oh, I hope. It's like a prayer. So you don't really know, but when you assume something about somebody, even if you're fucking wrong, you think that you're right.
Yeah, you'll even implant thoughts and emotions over what's actually happening with them with your
Exactly.
assumptions.
That's why it's powerful. So if you look at where you're doing it, where it's fucking up your life, and you can kind of, and then
You,
take,
this is going back to your narcissist thing. I was saying at some level, I would assume that if your assumptions were strong enough, you could almost overwrite the other person's character. You could have to
yeah,
have them do what you want them to do if we're going
yeah,
dark side with it.
and that's where the strongest willpower always wins.
Yeah, there you go.
That's just what it is. And it goes back between power and force. They go together. They try to trick us into one or the other, but they actually go together. It's really just negative and positive polarity. You know,
Mm-hmm.
so whoever has that strongest willpower, or the strongest assumptions, is just what's going to happen. They're going to be the ones to win. Just sometimes, just like in sports, the
Who
most
wants it
dominant
more?
you know the most dominant team usually is the one.
Who
There is that whole term, any given Sunday. Miracles do happen now.
they do, but I'm a strong believer in it's whoever comes down to whoever wants it more. Period. And those any given Sundays are the team who fucking just want it so goddamn
Yeah,
bad that they will
it's
find a
like
way.
we're getting to the point of the NFL season where uh all of the terrible teams are about to start kicking ass. They're about to start knocking teams who are scratching and clawing at the playoffs are about to get kicked out by a fucking team that's like 1-12. That's the whole any given. That's where we're. That shit happens all the time. We don't really recognize that as well. It's like, what, you lost to the Lions? They're trash
well,
completely.
well. maybe that's why the Dodgers always lose, man. I think maybe they expect that friggin' that just blowout in the playoffs. You know what? And even I'm a big believer in like the power of your fans
Yeah,
influencing you, and the Dodger fans expect them to lose in the playoffs. And I wouldn't be surprised if everyone's like, I fucking knew it. They
yep.
always get here and they lose. Is
Uh-huh.
fuck the I hate the Dodgers, and it's
See,
every
there's
conversation. I'm from SoCal or from close. I'm from LA basically, so everyone. That's the first thing they say when the Dodgers make it to playoffs. I bet you they're gonna blow it. They had the
see,
most winning season this year, set a record, and everyone that's first thought. I bet you they're gonna blow it. I bet you that fucking influences the team, dude.
yeah, inner conversations. That's how we can wrap it up through inner conversations. As you can see, the power of a centralized force right there, the fans,
Uh huh.
when they get together and they think they're gonna lose, that can affect the team right there. So the team has to override. Sometimes they're fighting against this team right here and their own fans, bro.
Right, yo.
Crazy, right?
I need to start making us just dedicate a YouTube channel to getting the Dodger fans levels on point.
You can you can do that. Hey, it's crazy, but think about it. They're fighting. They're already going to war because sports are war
Yeah.
with the team that they're going against. Plus, their own fans are against them. Who should have their back?
It's like I want them to win. Everyone wants them to win. They cheer for them, but in the back of their heads, you know what I
How
mean? It's almost like they're expecting them to blow it. That
how
expectation.
when they lost those few first times in the playoffs that everybody felt, and then it becomes this thing, and then oh, it's a curse, not a curse. It's really just the assumption that they will. And look
I
how
I I'm curious if Goddard has something to say about superstitions. Then does he have a section on superstitions and the power
I
of
think
superstition?
through his lectures, I know he does talk about superstition a bit. You know, I think he talks about it through superstition, through assumption. You know, because it just goes to that, like we believe. You know, it's like a superstition is just another form of assumption that, oh, if
Yeah.
don't go under that ladder now,
Uh
you know,
huh.
this will happen. Same shit.
Uh huh. Uh huh.
You know, Friday the 13th. So it's what, you know, and this is perspective. What perspective is what you know, that's why everything, you know, the realm of illusions. It does an illusion doesn't always have to be something that's fake. And a remember illusion is something that's very real. It just doesn't seem, it's just nothing. It's that whole, it isn't as it seems.
It's real or fake in relation to what would answer that question.
This is how you bend reality. You're like, okay, I know the 3D is showing me this, but this is what I want my life to be.
Uh-huh.
And you stick on that and you give and you try to go to that.
Imagination.
Imagination is God, man. The mind of God is the most powerful thing we've always had. So
All
that's
right.
where all, you know, that's one way you can ground yourself through your imagination.
You heard it live and direct, folks. Live and direct.
So,
Well, thanks for coming on, Alchemy. You have any final words? Those were some great ones to end it on. You want to
all
put
right,
your paraphernalia in the comment section one
yeah,
more time?
I'm having 20% off right now on the shop, on the Etsy shop, all the goodies, all the spiritual goodies, everything, you know. So let me put that in there.
Um
20% off Patreon, Alchemy of Life Co. Same,
Al-
same.
Alchemy has a Patreon. He hosts
YouTube channel,
podcasts on there. He's got a YouTube channel.
same
Um
name. YouTube.
Alchemy goes deep, y'all. Definitely, definitely, and stay in touch and learn what you can from the man because
You know,
all of it is extraordinarily useful.
this is you know, I found out it's just really my path. Like most people, they do it because you know they've come across it and they are spiritual, but this is something that I'm passionate about on a different level. Like I've bled for this, I've sweat for it, I've many different things. I've almost, you know, I've gone through it all, and I know exactly what I you know what my path is with this, and it's what I'm doing now. So thank you. You know,
And we will all get there soon. I take that back. We are all already there. We just need to get those neural pathways to
Yeah,
reinforce that thought.
exactly. Like if you have something that you feel is impossible, before you even attempt it in a physical, you can already create success right there. And when you
Even if it
create,
doesn't feel genuine, even if it doesn't feel
yeah,
genuine.
because a lot of the times, think about it like this: when you've been programmed for so long, it isn't going to feel genuine for a while.
That's my hardest part to deal with is
It
that disingenuine feeling.
it's going to feel that it's supposed to feel that way at first because that's how you know you're muscling, you're kind of removing that paradigm
Uh-huh.
because you're starting to feel, oh, this doesn't feel like it
Uh-huh.
should. Oh no, you're moving mountains and you don't even know it.
Uh-huh.
So you'll get to the point where it feels less like that, and you'll start to feel it. It's like, okay, I can do this. And you'll have your days where you don't feel genuine or you don't feel a certain way, but you just gotta get back up.
Fuck it.
For
Fuck it.
like I put it to you like this: like I came up with my own formula with my affirmation tapes that I use. It's kind of crazy, but it's like, okay, if I listen to one of my tapes for an hour every day, that's gonna net me 300 hours of programming a year on that thing.
Fuck.
Depending on how I, how far I am with that thing. If it's like, if you really don't feel it's possible, it may take a lot more. So to get that effect, I might have to listen for 5 hours a day, which is then that might take a couple of months for me to get that instead of a year, you know. And now I have, you know, what, 3, 6, 9, 12 to 1,500 hours of programming on that one neural pathway in a year.
Beautiful.
So when they say, look at your life, and if you do it now, what will your life look like in 6 months or a year? This is what we're talking about. This is the work, because now you have something that's you have your higher self. You have something more powerful coming in and saying, oh yeah, it's already done. It's like a lag. It's just like you're just trying to catch up to the experience here in the physical.
Beautiful.
That's all I got.
Cool, man. Well, everyone, thank you guys for chillinses. Seaflower Goddess. You wouldn't know me. Thanks for the feel better. Shy Adams, what's up? What's up? And
Shout out
we'll
to the
keep in touch. Alchemy, I'm sorry it took us a year to hop on another live or
man. It's
however
all
long it's
good.
been.
I mean,
Been doing the human thing out here, you know how it is.
same here. I've been in my own little hermit chill, trying to make shit work. It's like certain
But you,
things did or certain things like, okay, I'm not getting out what I should. So it's like, you know, I got to kind of go back into self and it's like, okay, what do I need to do?
mhm.
So that's where I'm at in my life, just finding everything and getting the business together, the Etsy shop, the Patreon, building it up. Slowly but surely, everything's working out.
Keep swinging, dude.
And that's another thing. We don't need to, like, with assumptions. You know how one last thing, how we kind of joke around with ourselves. We might put ourselves down in a joking way. Don't ever do that shit because you just end up believing it eventually.
Yeah.
So that's another thing that we
No
don't,
negative self-talk, even playful.
because unless you want to experience that or to be that thing, it just wouldn't be wise. So that's a piece of wisdom that I have. The last little piece.
Copy that. All right, I'm gonna end the stream on the YouTube, but I'll still be here, Alchemy.
Okay, cool.
All right, peace out, everybody. I'll see you guys soon. Thanks for chilling, Jizz. Good night. Be safe out there. All right.